And we are back.
Hello.
How are we?
I'm good. How are you, DJ?
Very well, thank you. Back for another week. I guess we were just chatting about kind of hot topics for the week, and as we like to do before we get into this sort of stuff. And we happened upon the topic of raw milk.
Raw milk, yes.
Raw milk. And look, that's not something I had previously heard a lot about. Say maybe 12 months ago, hadn't heard a lot about it. I was a chef for over 10 years, talked to a lot of suppliers, talked to a lot of other chefs. You know, never in that time did I encounter raw milk as a professional cook.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in the last 6 months, just even the mention of raw milk has kind of exploded. We're seeing a lot more around it. Let's talk a little bit about that. What do you think's going on there?
I don't know. I'd say just a whole bag of misinformation.
Definitely misinformation is at the crux of it.
I don't know. Because I guess people seem to think it's healthier, or it's
That's what I keep hearing.
not as bad for you. But it's just I kind of came up with I was mentioning to you before, why would you risk? Couldn't you just turn towards things like soy milk or oat milk or almond milk?
That's what I
as a healthier option. I mean, to be honest, I don't really know that much about it, but why exactly people are turning to raw milk. But it's just man, all these health experts are saying, hey, look, not only is it incredibly dangerous, but you could but it seems to be a culture which viruses like bird flu likes to make a home in, and that can mutate into other things as well. And if just one person is affected by something like that, it could create some kind of look at
COVID-19.
Yeah,
it started with one person.
Yeah, it started with one person. Well, it started with poor health regulations, which China is known for.
At least some of their regional villages and stuff like that. 100%. There's less stringent regulation on stuff like that.
Yeah.
The bigger cities you get to, I think it's a bit different, but definitely these kind of more regional places that were involved in preparations of foods and exotic foods as well. I
don't mean to generalize, but
no, not at all. I honestly don't give a shit what people eat. It's got nothing to do with what they're eating. I think it just had to do with the practice of handling and storing the food.
Well, I saw there's a very good quote that I like to call back to, which is the only real difference between poison and medicine is the dosage a lot of the time.
Well, that is kind of true.
And but I don't know, do you know why people were turning to raw milk as an alternative to pasteurized or?
So, I've thought this over, and just to admit, shout out to our boy Philip DeFranco. We kind of watched a few Philip DeFranco things before this, just to kind of gather our thoughts. And he did confirm something that I had suspicions on, because a lot of the rhetoric that I've seen emerging around raw milk has come from kind of the American right conservatives. Now, he touched on a good point that I had suspected. It's that it's kind of seen as anti-establishment. So the government's telling you, no, you shouldn't drink unpasteurized milk. It's bad for you. People are saying, no, fuck the government. We don't believe what the government says. So we're going to drink whatever milk we choose. And it's this growing movement of kind of, anti-establishmentarianism. It's just doing something that's the opposite of what you've been told to do.
Yeah, but it's just what? Whenever these kind of conspiracies come out, I always just wonder, what are they trying to gain from telling people to do something that is not in their best interest? When it's to do with something like this, something as basic as just drinking milk.
Yes.
It's just because I don't know, we've been drinking milk for hundreds of years, thousands of years.
Yep.
Why all of a sudden like all through the ages, now all of a sudden, like, no,
We're regressing.
yeah, like that's not what you're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
you know?
So funny you bring that up. So again, not a food scientist, not a doctor in any sort of way, but I can read. And I can read the reports of people who are far more educated than myself. And really, the huge push to start pasteurizing dairy was because of the overwhelming amount of illness that was experienced from unpasteurized dairy. And this is coming from a society where drinking pasteurized dairy was more normal than it is now. So that had exposure to that sort of thing. Their gut biomes are probably tailored towards that thing, but there's still overwhelming amounts of cases of listeria, salmonella, E. coli, all those still can be harbored in raw milk. So I don't know heaps about the science behind it. I do know a lot about the science behind pasteurization. And pasteurization is kind of like a really gentle way of cooking something, but without fully cooking it. Okay, so bacteria are eliminated once, not talking to anyone here, if you know this, just ignore me. But bacteria aren't just killed instantly by, exposure to high heat or something like that.
Yeah.
Killing bacteria is a process of exposure plus time. Okay, that has to take time. The higher the heat, the less time. So pasteurizing is, I think it's in the 60s degrees Celsius, something like that, 67 maybe. So that's obviously not boiling point, right? So we have to kind of cook it for longer, so it kills the bacteria. If it was up to 100 degrees, well then it would be boiling, and it would more likely change the molecular structure of the milk. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's cooking the water out, it's producing down, it becomes different. That doesn't actually happen with pasteurization. It's just we cook it low and slow. It's like a slow cooker at home. Right?
Yeah.
You leave for work in the morning, your product's raw, you come home, your dinner's done, it smells delicious.
Well, what about cheese? Because cheese is made from milk, isn't it?
Cheese is made from milk, and generally pasteurized milk. So the pasteurizing process is actually happening before it's made into cheese, and then sometimes it's happening again after the production of the cheese.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because then, I suppose if people are going through consume alternative stuff like raw milk and stuff like that, then I guess that would be staying away from cheese altogether as well.
Yeah. So I guess the part that I find most confusing, right? So I've heard people talk about the health benefits of the raw milk, but they don't really seem to outweigh, for me anyway, the risk of getting sick from raw milk. I've never heard someone say to me, pasteurized milk is the devil, it's bad for you, it's going to cause you harm to your body. That's generally what I've seen isn't the argument they're making. They're just saying that raw milk is better for your body. Which, look, I don't know, it may actually have higher vitamin, mineral, amino acid counts. I don't know. Is it really that important, though?
Yeah,
Is it worth the listeria?
Well, look, the reason I find this concerning, if people want to, do their own thing, and, I don't really have a problem with how people choose to live their lives.
Absolutely not.
It's not affecting other people. But when I'm seeing health experts suggest that, this could trigger, something serious, like a pandemic, that's when it's well, guys, really, can we at least talk about this?
Yeah,
because
it's not just going to affect you guys.
Yeah.
It could affect us all as a society.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty valid reasoning.
I think this is a reason to, I don't know, and I don't know, I hear a lot of people talking about things like Big Pharma and all that sort of stuff, and I feel like it stems from that a little bit. And
can I just interject there, right, though? Well, I hear a lot of people talk about Big Pharma, but I never hear them talk about big wellness. Okay, the wellness industry is also a billion-dollar industry. Selling things like vitamins and minerals and alternative medicines, a lot that don't scientifically do anything. It's still a billion-dollar industry. So when people say big pharma, but they're okay with big wellness, well, then they're just hypocrites. They're both giant corporations that stand to gain profits from selling you something that you may or may not need.
Yeah, and also I feel like it's taking away from people. There's a lot of people out there that do rely on certain medications.
Absolutely.
And they rely on things to like make it so they can function during the day, because people who are born with, say, chronic illnesses or get really bad arthritis, and even I take ginkgo every morning.
Yep.
So like I don't know, there's nothing wrong with I guess doing things that work for you, but don't do it just because like a movement is telling you to.
I think that's the crux of the issue, and I totally agree with you on pharmaceuticals are a means to an end for our society generally. It's not something that everybody would elect or wants to do, but they have to do it. Medications are prescribed, despite what you think about conspiracy theories, whatever. I'm sure there are, doctors out there that push pharmaceuticals unnecessarily. Sure, of course that happens.
Well,
but I would say the majority of doctors aren't looking to just fucking prescribe things to get their kickbacks.
Well, no, like my doctor, for example, he has suggested to me to, because I take antidepressants, help mental health medication and stuff.
Yep.
And he has suggested to me a few times to maybe think about taking myself off them.
Yep.
And the only reason I haven't really is because I've been taking them for so long. And
I'm with you, brother.
But like that's an example. Like I don't know, like maybe like on a corporate level, like CEOs of people like Pfizer and like Merck or Moderna.
Oh, I have no doubt that they are run by people that answer to a board and they answer to investors. It's a business.
And there was that, like, I did find it interesting when I think they got someone, it was a journalist, but they got like an official from Pfizer and they brought her in and they asked some questions about, because with their COVID vaccine, they did lie about a few things about what the vaccine was going to do.
Is that right? I'd be interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, I'll try and bring up the video and put it in the link below, as well as the Philip DeFranco video.
Please,
But yeah, it's like, so they said that the Pfizer vaccine was supposed to help, like, be less likely to spread.
Right.
But then, like a year after the vaccine had already rolled out and millions of people, including myself, and had already
me too.
taken. I think I already had my second shot after
that. Sounds about right.
And they said, "Oh yeah, look, we just wanted to meet a profit margin," and it's just like, fuck, really? It's just, but that's not to say like the vaccine doesn't work at all.
No, I mean it's proven that it does work.
Yeah.
So so what you're saying is that they admitted in the area of transmission, they said that it was going to slow or stop transmission, and it didn't actually do that.
At least that's I mean, it's been a while ago since I've seen that interview, but I was kind of like, fuck, that's
pretty damning, right there.
It is a bit, because like once people, like especially after they had the second vaccine, that's when they started saying, okay, well, we can start going back into the community. And I do remember, like, even though like the lockdowns had already finished, like we were actually getting more cases of the viruses per day than any other period during when the pandemic.
Because everyone's interacting again, and it's just become this big cauldron.
But like it was less of a threat because most people were already vaccinated.
Right, they had some sort of immunity. Exactly right.
At least, and especially people who have already had it previously as well. Because once you, that
natural immunity is definitely a thing.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, like say what you will about the government. Yeah, there's a lot of things that the governments do that's a little bit shady. But when it comes to things like this, like, I think a good frame of reference is like, okay, if it's not just the government that is saying these, if it's literally like your doctor who has no stake in whatsoever what the government is doing, who is saying to you things like, raw milk and these alternative things that they're not really, like the dangers are like far outweigh any kind of benefits. You might want to stick, like they have nothing to gain, like they're not, it's like what have they got to gain by suggesting that to you? It's not like like spent years going to a freaking college to get this degree and working their ass off just to sell you something, you know?
Yeah. I think that's very true.
They're already making their quota, especially like like people whose job it is to monitor these things. I don't see how what they're benefiting from. It's not like people coming to their doors and handing them briefcases full of cash every time they say
right, and which that is what people were alleging was actually happening. You know, which is just absurd to think.
Yeah,
I mean, look, I'm not saying to just trust every doctor you hear, but it's about consensus. It's about does the wider scientific community agree with this, or do they refute it?
Consensus. That's a good. I think consensus is like it's not just it's not really just a decision that one individual
Exactly
makes.
right, and it should never be.
It's when the majority of people are considering one way or the other. And I think that's a good an indicator of
Definitely.
because when I first heard about warm milk, I kind of thought, oh, okay, well, if these people want to.
On an individual level, look, I actually have no problem with it. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, friggin' drink battery acid if it makes you feel better.
If you're going to do it in the safety of your own home without kids, fucking do it.
But don't take away my right to not do that, you know? Or don't... But, yeah, and also, again, the reason why I feel like this is worth talking about is because, there is dangers and it could affect a lot of people.
100%.
Regardless of which side of the fence that they're on. And
I think that's important to highlight too, because a lot of these people I see talking about raw milk do bring it down to, well, it's an individual choice, I can do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
Yeah.
But we're now having people say that, hey, this may affect the wider part of society with your individual choice. You've now become a carrier for, what was it tested positive for in California? Bird flu, wasn't it?
Bird flu, yeah.
Yeah.
And also I'd be interested to know what started this whole raw milk phase. Was it Gwyneth Paltrow, or was it?
God. Look, if she didn't start it, she's certainly helped popularize it.
Yeah, but Gwyneth Paltrow is just...
She's a whack job.
She's weird.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Well, it's just like, because it's like the anti-vaccine movement. Like, I didn't know this for a long time, but the anti-vaccine movement actually started with this this dude known as Andrew Wakefield.
Andrew Wakefield.
Who so I used to think that the anti-vaccine the reason why people are scared of vaccines is because it thinks it triggers ASD.
And that's something that is repeated a lot, annoyingly.
Yeah, annoyingly, but I used to think that what happened was, okay, a scientist put forward an idea that maybe it does this, but then was proven wrong, but misinformation.
Okay.
But no, what actually happened was he decided to hold a conference to say, look, this is definitely causing ASD, but the reason he was doing that was because he wanted to spread misinformation about a particular kind of vaccine, like the vaccines that were available back in the 90s. I can't remember.
I see. Okay.
But he was really just trying to deviate people towards his vaccine that he had patented
every time.
And
every time.
But yeah, and eventually he got to a point. He was a physician, but he lost his license. He is basically being considered a quack of the medical community. But he realized he still had a following, and he could basically profit off nothing, pretty much.
Right.
And
heard that story before.
And look, it's really so. I just want to reiterate, when it comes to this sort of stuff, it's not really people who are anti-vaccine that I have a problem with. Right. That's, you know what, fine. But because I think at the end of the day, especially if you have kids, they just don't want to feel responsible for maybe doing something that could affect their kid's life.
I totally get that.
Which I get that. it's really people like Andrew Wakefield who are just
Yes.
who don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah, that's the bottom. The bottom line is dollars.
yeah, he's just making money. Like you know, he's just and like his only argument so far has just been like read his book, read my book, which is like I feel like he's not pointing to any other sources other than his own, and going, which is like saying
It's like Christians.
it's like being saying, hey, look, I had a very long talk with myself, and both me and myself have come to the conclusion that I'm right and you're wrong. It's like, well, that's
It's not really how science works, is it?
yeah, it's not. Well, it's not really how any kind of argument works. Like they don't just get people who are on trial for like presenting an argument or something in court and go, yeah, okay, well, it seems like you've done a good amount of soul searching, and instead of like,
yeah. We'll give you this one.
Yeah. No, it's just like you need like evidence of shit, and it's
I just wanted to bring it back to something you said earlier because I found this interesting, you know, and to a certain degree, I actually do agree. Anti-vaxxers and like anti-government mandate stuff. Look, I don't, on a personal level, again, the same with you know, drinking raw milk on a personal level. In principle, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you don't want to put something in your body and you don't want the government telling you need to. I understand that. I really do actually understand that. I guess where it came down to it is that the fact that we're in a global pandemic, none of us really wanted to get a fucking vaccine, did we? None of us wanted it.
No.
We had to do it. And people are arguing about the fact that, well, it's the fact that you had to do it. Well, I think when it come down to it, a lot of us made the moral choice that, hey, if this is going to be to the greater benefit of society, we're okay with doing it. And the people that I have a problem with are the ones that went, no, I don't want to be part of this society. I want to benefit from it, but I don't want to contribute to it. I want all the benefits, but I don't want to do anything that might be considered hard work or infringing on my rights. Look, hard times make hard people, okay? I don't know if you heard that saying, but it's the case. We go through hardships and it makes us stronger if we get through it, generally.
Yeah.
And I feel like this, as a social aspect, we had to get through it together. There was no other alternative because it was a fucking pandemic. There was no other way other than collectively to band together and say, okay, let's suck it up and do this. Let's stay inside. We don't want to. Let's lose weeks of pay. We don't want to. But we did it. And I feel it's where it comes down to it is that these people are just taking an individualistic choice and approach towards something that has an effect on the whole. And that's my problem right there. And you said before that, you know, these parents that kind of, you know, maybe have listened to Andrew Wakefield or whatever, they feel they don't want to be responsible for doing something harmful to their children, right? Possibly giving them ASD from giving them vaccines. Well, what about not giving them vaccines and they die from fucking whooping cough, or they die from the measles, or the mumps, or rubella, or any of those things that have been wiped out in the civilized world because we have vaccines for them?
Yeah. Well,
why don't they care about that?
Well, yeah, like, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, wiped out. They haven't been wiped out. It's just, you know, they just don't affect us as much because, you know, we're vaccinated.
Of course, I don't mean wiped out in the 0% cases. I mean that the percentage of cases that we have are so negligible that it doesn't affect the whole. And the percentage of cases that we see that are vaccinated, the symptoms are so much more manageable than if they weren't vaccinated.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's, like, yeah, these are alternative people. They are.
It just doesn't seem consistent to me. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah, just go. Yeah. This isn't. It's just creating like a massive problem, and as Philip DeFranco says, it's like, yeah, like there's just we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens, because
it is kind of a wait and see what happens time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
in many areas.
Yeah, so wait and see what happens with the new Trump presidency. Wait and see what happens as to whether or not Putin actually hits a big red button and we go.
Yes.
He goes to nuclear war with
Same
Ukraine.
for Israel with fucking Palestine and Iran.
Wait and see what happens when these people who are afraid of pasteurized milk.
Yeah.
whether or not they do a China and they create a pandemic that,
Some sort of super bug.
yeah.
Yeah. Look, let's hope not.
Yeah, it's just, I don't care what happens though, as long as I get to keep playing games and, I don't know. Well,
I feel the same way.
well, I mean, I hope, you know, these things don't affect too many people, I guess. And also as well, like, of course, with all this stuff that's happening, like, I think the best thing to do is to remind people that they're not alone. That there's a lot of people out there that feel the same, that feel like this time of uncertainty, and it's just you know, just focus on what's in your life and hopefully and just work on the things that you can control. Like, there was a really good meme that I came across the other day. You know, it's a bit of a play on words, but it's from a like kind of a theme to a saying that you might be familiar with. Give me alcohol so I can change the things I can, and weed to accept the things that I can't. And I thought, no, that's
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
It's pretty good. I also am a big fan of this saying, hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Yeah, that's also a good one. Although, just to build upon, I would replace alcohol with maybe...
Just probably more weed for me, honestly.
Well, maybe cocaine.
Okay.
Can we talk about cocaine on the podcast?
Sure.
Yeah,
Why
okay.
not? I mean, if people are going to subsidise the cocaine usage, then definitely, because that shit's expensive from the last time I did it, which was many moons ago.
It is expensive. It is expensive. But man, do you get shit done.
Oh, you get shit done.
Not that I would know.
No, well, we're talking, you know, hypothetically, of course.
Yeah.
They're all hypothetical. If the ASIO is listening, so there's no cocaine here.
Yeah.
But Wolf of Wall Street, you know, watch that. That's a pretty good indicator of, you know, what cocaine will do.
Exactly. Make millions of dollars.
They got shit done.
They got shit done. Make millions of dollars and send the world into debt.
Yep.
Man.
They did that.
They did that. And
Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort, who's he?
So he's the dude that Leo's character is based on.
In Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. So he's this guy named Jordan Belfort. Very interesting dude. I highly encourage you to watch, like, even any interview with him, because he's out of jail now. So he's actually out of jail and doing, like, the podcast circuit and stuff like that. I think he's been out for a while, but he's an interesting man. He's got interesting takes on, you know...
Isn't he an asshole?
Yes. Oh, huge. He's exactly like what it looks like in the movie. He kind of like a coked up banker. Like, yeah, he did whatever he wanted. And he has not been humbled by prison at all, let's put it that way.
Yeah, well...
but still a very interesting character to just even listen to him talk, even if you don't agree with him, which I don't agree with most of what he says, but it's just interesting to kind of get inside the head of somebody that was responsible for the, you know, defrauding of millions.
Yeah, all right. Well, okay, well, I guess we're kind of veering off, but I think we can leave it for there.
Sounds good.
But yeah, that's our episode for today, and I think, like I said before, just remember you're not alone. We're all in this together. Life is a lot of holes, but you know, it's just about focusing what's right in front of you, whether it's your family, your loved ones, your friends, the things that you like doing, whether it's gaming or playing tennis or fishing for sharks or whatever.
Don't let the world consume you with its problems.
Yeah, anyway, this is Wolf and this is DJ.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time.